The Caryophyllaceae. This family has generally a fairly global distribution, and it is in fact especially diverse in temperate regions of the Northern Hemisphere. It consists of about 100 genera and about 2,200 species, and the family has some ornamentals and also some weeds. The common name here is the pink family, and this isn't because of the color pink. It actually has to do with the petals being notched or fringed. So these notched or fringed petals often look like the pattern left by pinking shears. So I had never heard of pinking shears before learning about this plant family, but apparently they leave a pattern that looks kind of, like this cleft, fringed, notched pattern that we see on the petals here. So in this picture, we see a member of the genus Dianthus, and this genus has lots and lots of ornamentals. This here is another member of the genus Dianthus, and you can tell that it's clearly a cultivated variety. We see layer upon layer of corolla, so clearly it's been, bred for this purpose. And Gypsophila paniculata, this has the common name of baby's breath, and it's actually quite common in flower arrangements and bouquets. This here is a super cool plant, Colobanthus quitensis, commonly known as the Antarctic pearlwort. It's actually one of only 2 flowering plants found in the Antarctic region and is actually the world's southernmost dicot. Strangely enough, it actually occurs from Mexico all the way down into the Arctic, or the Antarctic. So a really, really large distribution here. So the Caryophyllaceae are annual or perennial herbs and usually have swollen nodes. As for the leaves, they are generally simple with an opposite leaf arrangement, entire leaf margins, and they are usually ex-stipulate. So if you look at the picture here, you can see these swollen nodes with opposite leaf arrangement, and the leaves here are entire and simple, and we do not see stipules. The flowers in the Caryophyllaceae are perfect, so both male and female reproductive structures are present. Flowers are actinomorphic, so radially symmetric, and the petals are often cleft. So if we look at the image on the bottom right here, each petal is cleft in the middle here, giving the appearance of essentially 10 petals rather than 5. But if you look at the image at the top, the petals here are not cleft. So this does not hold true for all members of the Caryophyllaceae, but the petals are often cleft. If we take a look at the floral formula here, we can see that we have a 5-meris perianth, and the calyx can be either polysepalous or syncepalous, and the corolla is polypetalous or absent, in fact. Looking at the andrecium, we have 5 to 10 stamens, and the gynoecium is syncarpous, composed of 2 to 5 carpels, and a superior ovary here. Taking a look at the images down here, we can see that the petals can have appendages on them, and that the ovary here sits on a specialized stalk, essentially, called a gynophore. So a gynophore is an elongated stalk which bears the pistil. And then one more thing to look at is that petals are often clawed in this family. So the clawed petal has a narrow base here, which is considered the claw, and then also a limb, which is this more expanded portion out here. The expanded part of the petal is the limb, and it tapers to this narrowed claw. So that's essentially what composes the clawed petals that we often see in the Caryophyllaceae. So here's just another view of a flower in the Caryophyllaceae in transverse section. So again, we can see this gynophore which is this stalk upon which the ovary is sitting. And we can also see these clawed petals. So we have the limb up here tapering to this narrow claw. One last thing to talk about is the gynecium here has free central placentation. And here's a nice little view for you, just so you can see each structure individually, essentially. And I think it's a really good way to view this gynophore here as the supporting stalk for the pistil. So the ovary is sitting directly upon that, and then we have the style and stigmas up there. And then, of course, clawed petals. We have this nice expanded limb and this narrowed claw, and of course, connate sepals. So the fruit in the Caryophyllaceae are generally denticidal capsules or utricules. And just as a reminder, denticidal capsules are capsules that open up via little teeth at the top of the fruit, and utricules are small bladder-like one-seeded indehiscent fruits. And one thing to take note of is that there's often a persistent calyx in the fruits here. Here's a little longitudinal section of a denticidal capsule, and one thing you can see is the free central placentation that this family has. So we'll just do a quick little review of the recognition characters for this family. So the Caryophyllaceae are generally herbs, annual or perennial. They have swollen nodes, opposite leaf arrangement with simple leaves. The petals are clawed and often cleft or fringed at the apex. And the fruit is a denticidal capsule or utricule and often has a persistent calyx. So Stellaria media, this is commonly known as chickweed and can be found around Larimer County in disturbed places, though it is introduced and not a native species. So this has a common name of mouse ear or also chickweed. So in fact, a lot of members of the Caryophyllaceae are called chickweed as a common name. So just one of the downfalls of common names. They are generally used to refer to a wide variety of species. So this plant here is quite common in Larimer County, Saponaria officinalis. I learned this actually doing gardening and landscaping. I learned this as an ornamental plant, and the common name that I learned for it was soapwort, though I know other people call it bouncing bet. So this here is a species in the genus Silene, and Silene has the common name catchfly because the stems are actually quite sticky and tend to catch insects. Interestingly enough, though, these plants can't take advantage of that and don't actually digest the insects in any way. So just to take a look at the image here, we can see that we have this nice opposite leaf arrangement with these simple leaves with entire leaf margins. So here is another species in the genus Silene, and this guy is actually quite common in the alpine and subalpine here in Colorado. So if you go and hike 14er next summer, you will probably see this guy. So likewise, Minuardia obtusa loba is also quite common in the subalpine and alpine here in Colorado. If you just look at this quarter for scale, you can see how small these flowers are, and you can see that it forms this dense, low to the ground, mat-like cushion, which is actually quite a common life form of plants in the alpine. Just one more subalpine to alpine species, and again you can see this dense cushion or mat-like life form. And to contrast those high elevation species, we'll look at this guy here, who grows at lower elevations here in Colorado and usually on a sandy type of substrate.